This meets that. This meets that. You pick this and I'll pick that. We'll put them together and what do you get? A movie we describe as this meets that. This meets that. Yeah!
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of This Meets That, the podcast where Ben and I take two different movies, mash them together, and see what new movie concept we can come up with. But before we start with our This Meets That, I was at work the other day and came up with a movie idea that I wanted to pitch Ben and see if he could expand on it.
Cool.
I think it's a fun little concept, and hopefully you guys do too.
All right. Little different, but we love pitches.
Yeah. So I was talking to a guy at work.
Can we have this section called Pitches Be Crazy?
I fucking love it, Ben. I've never been more happy with you in my entire life. If this isn't a thing already,
yeah,
I'm so glad. Like, I love this.
All right, cool.
Yes,
let's do it.
Hang on. So I was at work the other day, and just complaining about the work grind, and it's like, the man working us to the bone, that kind of stuff, yada yada yada. And so this idea for a movie came to my mind where it's kind of, I can see it as like a Black Mirror episode, so I don't know if it's a whole film in and of itself. Okay. So this takes place in the future, and robots have taken a lot of people's jobs and everything, but AI itself is illegal because science, like, AI is bad. It's gonna, we've seen plenty of movies where nothing good comes from AI. But so people can still work jobs, but since robots have taken a lot of jobs, or they want robots to take a lot of jobs to just keep, the
means of production
going, what you can do is when you can sign up to, when you go to sleep, your consciousness goes into a robot, so you're basically working while you sleep.
Okay.
And that's just the basic premise. So it's kind of just like an idea of corporate greed and the man making you work more, and even when you're asleep, you're not necessarily getting. It's just like a second job. So, but like to them, it's like, we're not going to pay you a ton because you're not really working. Yeah. You're not it's
physically
not it's not a toll on your body, but the fact that you aren't necessarily sleeping is like kind of taking a toll on your brain. And then it also becomes an idea of like, wait, is AI actually outlawed? Am I actually a robot? Am I really a man? Like, it's the idea. It's like, it is like going back and forth, like making me crazy. It's like I'm not getting my brain needs a break, and I'm not getting that. Even though obviously you dream. So then it becomes like, what's reality? What's not?
Do you remember your whole working shift? Like, because like when you dream, you only remember vague things, and if you are still sleeping, it's like, does it feel like a dream? Like, yeah, I remember stocking a shelf, and I'm not quite sure what else. Or it's like, no, I remember all 8 hours of my shift.
I think this is why I want to talk to you, because it's not a fully fledged story. It's like, here's the basic premise. Let's talk about it. And I think just from that, I think you would remember parts of it, but as the day goes on, it sort of does slip out of your mind. But then that becomes the question of, is this stuff my mind is kicking out because it just can't hold that information, or is it because the company wants me to forget certain things? And it's like, or...
So like Severance.
So when I'm working, am I doing stuff that I don't know I'm doing? Is the company do they have more insight into my brain than I realize they do? Like, and once again, or am I actually a robot who thinks he's human during the day? And the part I'm most excited about is, so all these robots obviously have numbers, and that's how they're identified, and that's how they're talked to. It's not like, let's say the main character's name's Dave. He doesn't go into the robot and they're like, oh, hey, Dave, can you complete the stats? It's like, hey, number this. And what you call the film, you call it 925.
Oh, shit.
Thank you. As soon as I came up with the number, I was like, that's the movie right there.
Yeah.
Because it's a 9 to 5 job. 925 is the number of the robot, and it's all an allegory for the workforce. And when I came up with the title, Ben, I did I pucker up, man? I was like, ooh, that's spicy. And I pitched this whole fucking movie to this coworker who didn't give a shit at all. And I was like, because I started, I got excited about it. I went off on my tangent at him, and he was just like, oh yeah, man, that's cool. And I was just like, oh man, I can't wait to tell Ben about this.
This seems like there was a story of James Cameron talking to Hollywood execs about doing an Alien sequel. And so he had like a whiteboard and it said Alien on it, and he just put an S at the end and then made it into a $sign. And that's what sold him. this could just be a fake story or whatever, but I can just see you doing kind of a similar thing, like, hey, we all work the 9 to 5, and then you erase the TO and put a 2, and like zoom out, and it's the robot, and I can see executives just being like, yes, that's good enough on name alone.
There's also the famous story of oh god, who directed The Usual Suspects? Oh, Bryan Singer.
Yes.
Where Bryan Singer, he came up with the script for Usual Suspects because he saw like a or he saw the poster, like the idea of the poster is going to be 5 dudes on a police lineup, and he's like, what movie can I make out of that? So he just came up with a poster idea, and he brought off a very great film.
Yeah. I mean, Terminator was a dream that James Cameron had. It was like a scary nightmare that he had, and then boom, it's this huge multi-movie franchise.
So like sci-fi is not necessarily something that I would consider my wheelhouse in terms of like thing I would write well. I think I'd probably be better at other stuff, but I do love a good sci-fi film and like cerebral stuff. But yeah, 925 is the title of the movie, and I was like, oh shit, that's fucking good. I was so excited.
Yeah. I'm getting a Clerks meets Surrogates.
I wish I saw Surrogates, but I know what Surrogates is.
Or even Gamer a little bit.
Yeah, I was thinking,
Chappie.
Yeah. I like. There's multiple ways you could take this. Is it just like I'm fully cognizant? It has nothing to do with like, do I believe I'm a robot or like reality's warping, or is it just a story of corporate greed and it's
this
like,
is what we have to do in the future.
Yeah, it's like even though I'm working essentially 2 jobs, but I'm only awake for one of them and I'm still underpaid. It's like, or do I as the robot lead a robot uprising? It's just like, hey man, we're all getting screwed over. Like, you know, they can't, like, we can take over this place because we can't feel pain or whatever because we're fucking robots. Like, who cares? Like, they can shoot us and it's like, we're just going to wake up, you know?
So are we putting people's sleeping brains into robots because AI is not allowed? And this is the way that you can get around, like, sure, we can automate a robot to do a thing, but the critical thinking of certain tasks, you would use an AI for it, but since we don't trust it, we have to use the humans?
Yeah, I only said like AI is illegal because it's just like, well, if they have robots, why don't they just have them like, you know, be cognizant and whatever, and it's like they're smarter and they can learn and they do jobs better than humans. So it's like, well, it would eliminate. We were concerned that would eliminate humans as like the superior, as the top of the food chain, and we've seen Terminator movies, we've seen all these other things. It's like, so by not physically putting their brain into a robot, it's just they strap on a helmet and it just like uploads their consciousness. So it's just like that's their workaround to going, okay, like there's robots with human-like intelligence, but they're human that we can like track and everything because we know that only Dave can go into this robot. Like that's Dave's robot. And
kind of a Pacific Rim sort of
merging
with
let's say there's human managers on the floor. It's
or Avatar even. Like
or
this
Avatar.
Body is only specific for you.
Yeah, and so it's just like, okay, if this person does anything, we can still fire that person because that person, it's just a way so technology doesn't take over completely, but we're still using it to our advantage.
Maybe there was a robot revolution. They tried the AI thing, and typical like every AI movie, they did rise up. And maybe it doesn't have to be like an apocalyptic sort of thing, but they were more, say, spoiled brats, and these robots didn't want to work. They didn't want to be slaves, so they just tried to like live normal lives. We had to go through this whole thing about wiping them out, and then laws were passed, no AI. The only thing that could work is a human brain in a robot through a neural uplink.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't go full robot uprising. I think
that would be like before the movie, though.
I know. I feel like that would launch the movie too far in the future. I'm thinking this takes place in like 2040, 2050 area, like not super far into the future.
See, that's the problem with so much sci-fi is they don't go far enough. They're always like, this is 2038. It was made in the 90s.
But there's other sci-fi stuff where it's just like they have technology that's too far back,
but
and it's like new stuff.
You still do, this is 2087, and you don't need flying cars, you don't need space travel, you don't need lasers or whatever. But the big thing is this upload,
I don't really care what year it's set in. That's not really.
It's 2087.
That's not really the problem. I just don't want it to look super futuristic. I don't want it
Sure.
to be Blade Runner.
But that's like you look at Blade Runner and it's like the year is 2021 and you're like, we don't look like this at all. So you set it further, but you still make it a little more modern. So when we do catch up to that, they can look back at that movie and go, see, they got it right. They didn't go too far ahead.
Sure. Okay.
You asked for my ideas. I'm giving you my ideas.
Yeah. I just don't really care about a Robot Uprising movie. I think it just I think the most you would do is they came out with AI. It took everyone's jobs. Everyone was so upset about it. They're like, okay, we're gonna outlaw AI, and now it's just this is the compromise. It's like we still have the robots. We still have, these robots functioning in a human brain capacity, but they're connected to actual humans, not their own separate consciousness. So I think that's what there's laws put in place to keep people in jobs because obviously they're not trying to pass universal basic income. They're not trying to pay humans when they can pay. They don't have to pay for robots at all, essentially, other than upkeep. Yeah. So this is the compromise. Like you can work your regular job, but everyone's getting underpaid because robots do stuff better. It's like. So in order to sublet that money, you work as a supplement that money. Thank you. You work as upload your consciousness for extra cash, and that sort of gives you a livable wage, but it is a toll on your brain, or at least. And then you can get into whatever weird stuff we want to go to in terms of where the story goes from there. But that's just, like I said, the basic premise.
And I can see companies really selling it as this is almost can be like your second life. Have you ever wanted to mine the moon, the caves on the moon? Well, you can't because you're not skilled to be an astronaut to even get to the moon. But upload your consciousness into this robot and you can go work on a volcano and you can do all these things that you never physically could do. And now the handicapped can work. The morbidly obese. It's like they could really sell it as this is a cool thing.
Right,
having this other life. Maybe it's you call it second shift or something like that. And you're shifting from one body to another. This is your first job.
Yeah, and then
maybe your second shift.
You could be like a robot butler, like a rich family can go you might have to go in your human form and interview and go okay, this guy's not crazy. We feel comfortable uploading your brain into this robot. There's a lot you could do with in terms of where you show examples of the job. I just imagine this guy is a factory worker.
Yeah.
But you could do whatever you want. If we figure it would fit better somewhere else, or maybe he's the secretary to the CEO, and that's how he has the inside track to information and overhears crazy whatever you want to do. But it's just the idea of just a robot named 925.
Yeah,
and
good enough.
Yeah,
send it off to Brett Ratner and let him do his thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna contact J.J. Abrams at Bad Robot and make a Bad Robot movie at Bad Robot.
Oh, yeah.
So.
All right. I'm all there for it.
Yeah, so that was...
Good job, Steve.
Thank you.
925.
I came up with the movie first before the title, but then once I was 9 to 5, you work your regular 9 to 5? 9 to 5 Robot. It was a eureka moment.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's perfect for this show because literally it's Clerks meets Surrogates. And that's how you can sell it. Or you say Clerks meets... iRobot or Altered Carbon, there's a lot to it. Yeah. I don't know why I specifically say Clerks. I guess it's just the working man.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Clerks, I wouldn't have thought of. Yeah. But I get what you're going for.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's awesome.
Thank you.
See if we can.
Let's see if we can top it with something we haven't planned.
Yeah. It's one thing to sit on and stew on an idea.
I've been sitting on it for a couple of days now. I was excited for this podcast so we could talk about it.
You've been sitting on your stew. All right. Do you have a movie that we can mash up?
All right. I do. I have two movies. I like the first one better.
I got two as well.
We'll see what happens.
All right. 1, 2, 3.
Truman
Show.
Taken meets the Truman Show. I mean, Truman was taken.
He was
to be on the Truman Show. Huh. Oh, well, yeah, so, okay. You do a family man who's having a normal day, and suddenly someone comes into his house and takes his daughter, and he has to save her, but what he doesn't realize is that this is all a reality show, and to him, it's all real, and it's a horrifying situation, but to everyone else, it's this cool, will he save her in time, even though she's not in any real danger? And
is she in on it?
I would say...
Maybe not the kidnapping, but once they get her in the van, it's look, this is snatchy grabby show.
I mean, they're still gonna have to. I'm sure there'll be parts where he's like, Colin's like, put my daughter on the phone, and I think she wouldn't be on it. I don't think the whole family would be on it, or maybe like. What happens is, okay, here's the twist. The mom is in on it because she found out that the husband cheated on her. In order to get back at him, she's like, okay, fuck this guy. I'm going to sign us up for this show. Because maybe they know that the show exists. But obviously people get kidnapped and shit normally every day. So it's like you wouldn't ever expect to be on the show because who would put you in this scenario? And the only person who could sign you up would be your significant other because, you're married and... they'd be okay with it, whatever. I'm sure there'd be some legal mumbo jumbo we don't have to worry about. So...
This also feels like a Black Mirror thing.
Yeah.
It
kind of is in that one episode.
Snow Bear?
The one where the woman keeps living the same traumatic day over and over again because she murdered her kid or something. Yeah.
It was called
spoiler for Black Mirror.
Snow something.
Yeah, so that... just one idea. So he gets put in the show and he has to do these crazy scenarios and he's like getting in gunfights that aren't actually real, but he's made to believe they're real. And he's have to like make a choice, and the audience is going like, is he gonna like kill this guy to get his daughter back? And then it's like, so he thinks he's doing like all these like really horrible things, and it turns out like, oh, you're just on a game show. And
now, do we know he's on a game show from the get-go, or do we find that out at the end with the character?
I think.
Because with Truman Show, we know the whole time.
We know what's going on, yeah.
But is it that interesting? Because the whole time he's just like, okay, when's he going to fuck up?
I think you find out, like, halfway through the movie. Like, if I was watching this trailer, when you see the trailer, it goes, like, oh, this is just another, like, Taken kind of film. And then you don't know what's about, and then you go to the theater, and it's like, oh, halfway through, plot, like, he's on a game show? That's wild. And then once he finds out he's on the game show, he's like, okay, you guys really you guys ruined my life. You traumatized my daughter for your entertainment. You traumatized me. My wife is the one who set me up. Now I'm getting a divorce because she wanted revenge on this thing. Or maybe he didn't cheat. Maybe she just thought he cheated.
Maybe.
Whatever. We could do whatever. And then he's like,
this is like the new Maury Povich when you bring someone or the Jerry Springer.
And he's like, I am taking this shit down. And then the rest of the movie is him going like, I'm going to ruin this entire show's life. And it's like, I'm sure there's a bunch of legal stuff where it's like, oh, well, you can't sue us. You can't do this because, your wife signed away all this stuff and she made you sign this contract that you didn't realize you were signing and yada, yada, yada. But then that's the other half of the movie is him going like, all right, I'm going to get you guys back at your own game. Okay. And it's like because if you just do the twist at the end, it's like, oh, and then it's just like the most of the movie is just like, oh, well, it's just another like Taken film with a like twist at the end.
I think you would sprinkle things that would like, he's about to like really kill someone, like say with his bare hands, and they weren't planning and they can't like stop it, and the guy's just like, wait, no, it's just a big, and then he kills him for real, and then so you have the producers kind of like, oh fuck, he wasn't supposed to ever do something like that. This is supposed to be all fun and games, but he's taken it too far. I mean, that seems like the most basic way to go about it. Is there any way we can flip it around? Like, you put someone who, he's special forces. He's been doing the secret ops things for years. He's retired. He has a family. And he starts believing that maybe someone from his past is coming to get him. Or that he has been taken and like mind wiped, and maybe he's in a secret facility and he thinks he's in kind of a Truman Show type thing. So he's actually just going nuts from all the crazy shit he's gone through, and he's a big conspiracy theory, and he thinks everyone's after him, but he's really not on a Truman Show type thing. He's just going nuts.
Or what you could do is you basically do it. Well, the Truman Show was, here is the ideal life for this character, and everything's tailored to him to make his life. He in the Truman Show, he has a good life, and the whole point of the show is like, watch this boy grow up from a baby his entire life. But what if you do the Truman Show where everything's designed for dramatic effect? So like,
it's not like
it's not a happy utopia. It's okay. How is this real human gonna react to this scenario? And it's like, you put him in like, oh, your dad died in a car accident. Like, obviously, the actor playing his dad didn't actually die in a car accident, but he believed to die, and it's like, okay, well, he went through this heartbreak, and then in season 2, when you find out, he walks in on his mom with or another man or something. It's like you design all these things, just like, how would this human react to this awful scenario? And maybe his best friend gets addicted to drugs, and then it's like, oh well, you know what? This thing led him to join the army, and so like they put him on a helicopter, and it's like, oh, it's like, we're gonna put you on a plane, and then they just take him to another facility where it's like a jungle setting, and now he has to like fight in Nam or something like that. It's like, so now he's in a war, and he's like killing the enemy or whatever, but he's not actually killing anyone, because it's like, all right, throw that grenade, and then it's just like, explosion effect.
Yeah.
Like, what if it's designed to just fuck with this guy and see like how far we can push his psyche before we tell him, just kidding.
Psych, your whole life's a lie.
Or it's like, if he doesn't blow his brains out by the time he turns 40, then oh, you're on the show, you retired, you made it to the end. We're sorry we fucked with you this whole time. Oh, here's your dad or whatever, he's actually alive. It's like, oh, I don't know how you would do that in a loving way, but I guess the more ridiculous scenarios become, he like kind of starts seeing through the cracks, because like maybe the viewership is going down, so they keep ramping up the stuff, and it's just like, this doesn't make sense. Like, why is this happening? And then he like starts seeing things and then it's like, that starts messing with his reality. He's like, am I just going crazy because I've been through so much shit, or am I actually seeing these things that kind of look like sets? And then he discovers, oh, this isn't real, and then that's when maybe you go like, okay, you guys have trained me to be this awful person. I have done horrible things for your entertainment. Well, I'm just going to do them for real now. And then that becomes the revenge story at the end. Yeah. In case I don't see you, go fuck yourself.
Eat shit and die.
God, we're good.
Yeah. The only other thing I could think of is like, if it's a actual government training facility and they start training children from birth, and you get a bunch of them in the show at the same time, so you have multiple characters who all don't know, and they're going to grow up and become this elite squad. And how do you
so it's Lord of Flies meets
Truman Show.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's kind of weird TV, like, watch us mold and brainwash these children into super soldiers.
But once again, this is, I mean, the Truman Show reality of like taking a human being and like seeing them from birth, and people watching for, I guess Truman's like what, 35, 40 in that movie. It's like, people have been watching that show for 40 years and saw him since birth. It's like, what stuff are you really getting from the baby phase? Like, what good television is that? Yeah. But I mean, that's the idea that like no one would really try and stop this television show. It's like, this person, his whole reality is a lie. And obviously in the movie they address that, like, people have tried to tell him the truth, and they've always been able to cover it up. So like, I think you could do, like, I'm willing to go with that train of thought. It's like, yeah, people would just be into the TV show because we love TV, and Idiocracy we didn't think would be real, but then it turned out to be real. So
all right, so what would we call this?
Damn, quality control.
Why?
Because there's a control element to his life, and I feel like it's quality television, and the quality can go up or down based on the scenarios, and how it was like, we need to control the narrative on what happens with this guy and what he thinks is going to happen.
So that sounds like the name of Ed Harris and his crew in The Moon. They are quality control. Like but for the movie, I don't see that.
Dramatic effect. No. Cut to us with a good idea. I would love it if a listener chimed in and gave a better title. Like, just hit us up on Twitter if you think of something good. If like you don't like the title, you think of a better one, send us it's like, oh, this should be the title. Like, and we'll shout it out if we like it.
Yeah. As of right now, I'm not putting quality control. What was the other one you said? Dramatic
effect.
Dramatic effect with an E. Maybe you do it with an A.
I mean, you do something like kind of generic and like kind of looks good on paper, but isn't really all that. It's like Life Unlived or something like that. Where, or The Longest Lie.
These all sound like Liam Neeson generic movies.
Live, Lie, Love. It's like Live, Die.
Live, Lie, Live?
Everyone would be like, let me get a ticket to Live, Lie, Live. It's like, no,
No,
it's Live, Lie, Live.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
Live, Lie, Live. Look, we can come up with a good concept. Doesn't mean you're going to get a good title.
Yeah, I think we have at least one in here where we're like, ooh, I don't know. Okay, well.
We'll call it Endgame. Sure. Who cares? That hasn't been taken yet, right?
Nope, I think we're good. So the next movie that I'm going to use, I wish I used with your taken. I wish I would have chosen differently.
Do you want to... Okay, well, we can...
We'll do the next one, and then we'll just...
and then we'll go back and see
see if it would be better.
Oh, sorry, it wasn't close. But, okay.
So, 1, 2, 3,
A Star Is
Big.
Born. Big and Taken?
No, yeah.
Well, I know, but...
Well, yeah, but Big and Taken, it's like...
We'll go back.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was just trying to, in that moment, just like,
Yeah.
oh, where would you want to go with that?
Big, A Star Is Born, huh?
Yeah, I don't know why that movie came into my brain, but I also thought, like, you know what, let's go wild card here.
Now, I haven't seen it, but I basically know...
Yeah, it is from the basic premise. That's all you need to know. It's not of super deep.
He takes her under his wing. She becomes a superstar.
He's famous. She's not. She becomes famous through him. They get married. He has a drinking problem. Kills himself.
Yeah.
Anyways. Yeah.
Okay, and Big is a young boy wishing he was an adult to be able to do adult things, and then he's a kid in an adult's body. How does that work with Star Is Born?
So what you do is you have this kid who looks up to, and you can even do this at make it not a, I don't know what you would call it. Like if you, not a period piece, but if you wanted to set the movie in like the 80s.
Sure.
It could be a kid who's like really into Led Zeppelin and Kiss and the Rolling Stones, and everyone's like, man, like what a time to like love rock and roll. Mm-hmm. It's like, man, and he goes to that Zoltan. Is it Zoltan? Zoltar? Zip Zap Zooey.
Zoltan, I think.
Yeah, the machine that grants wishes, and he's just like, I wish I was a rock god, and then he wakes up, and then he becomes a rock star. And, he's able to live that...
Is he just an older version of himself that has the chops, or is he... It's because this isn't a body-switching movie.
No, it's not a body... It's basically... I guess he is just put into... I mean, I guess it might be an easier writing job. It's like, I'm Mick Jagger. But I would...
Or you do the 13 going on 30 version, where it's like, as you get older... Or I guess she's still young... and goes into her older body. But what if it was an older person going like, man, I wish I would have become a rock star. That was my dream, but now I work at this office job.
I think
they wake up in their kid body with an adult brain, and they're like, I know the future of like what music can be, and they're able to like become a rock star just by stealing. It's not big, but...
No, I think I would go, kid wakes up and... Like, he wakes up and he's in bed and he rolls over and there's just, like, the smoking hot babe. And he's like, oh, my God, how'd she get here? Because, in his brain, he still looks like a kid. Or he still thinks he's a kid. And then he gets up and runs to the bathroom, classic movie stuff.
Looks in his underwear.
And he's like, whoa!
Yeah.
And he, like, looks around. There's, like, gold records on. And it's, like, not necessarily the future, but it's just an alternate universe where he's now an adult. He still has his kid mind. And he's now a rock god. And he's like, I don't even know how to play guitar. But he goes to band practice because he's like kind of forcing. He's like, hey, Brian, you got to come play. It's band practice time. I was like, what are we playing? It's like, play Dude Number 7 because that's the name of the song. I don't know. And he's like, I don't know. And he just like starts drumming, and then all of a sudden just like takes over. Yeah. He's like, wait, I know how to play. And so he's just
and
like,
he knows the lyrics. He's just good.
Or like maybe he just listens to a CD real quick and he like knows the lyric, whatever. And so he's just like, oh man, I can finally live my dream of being a rock guy. And he travels and he's like partying it up, but because he's a kid, he's never like drank before. And there's like, you have that classic like, oh, my first sip of beer is like, first sip, bro, you've been drinking hard. You drink harder than all of us.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh well, like I wanted to live the rock star, and it's like finds out that rock star life isn't all it's cracked up to be. There's a lot of pressure with fame.
Yep.
He's like, oh, I can sleep with beautiful babes, but he's given like terrible sex because he's never had it before, and it's like, oh, like what's that? And just
and like his. I can see his persona before he's in there. It's like a Sid Vicious, like real hard-nosed, hard-drinking, trashing hotel rooms, rude to fans, spitting in the audience, just like a real rude boy. Yeah. And then now, he's a nice boy, and everyone's just like, what the hell?
And then, in this universe, he didn't exist, but he still has his best friend or whatever when his kid did exist, and he sees his best friend in a concert, he's like, oh man, we'll just call him Sid Vicious, I guess, because whatever, yeah. And it's like, oh, I love you, you're my favorite. It's like, oh, come on stage, little guy. It's like, you want to hang out? And it's like, yeah. And then like this kid, he's like, maybe he tries to tell him like, I'm your best friend or whatever. And it's like, dude, I don't know, you don't exist. Like either, I guess you don't do that. I guess
because if he's jumping into his like older body, his friend would also be older.
No, you don't jump into the older body. This is just, it's like a different. It's like a different universe where
he's a rock star, but there's an age difference still. So it's still it's almost like if he's if he's a teenager in the 80s, he's a rock star in the 2000s.
No, it's still the 80s is what I'm saying.
Oh, how does that work? How does he grow up and stay in the same decade?
He just transfers to a like I said, it's a different universe where he is now a rock god, but he still has his kid brain, and like his best friend exists, but it's like they never met.
Okay.
So it's just like, I wish I was a rock god. Okay, here's a universe where you are one, but you're still a kid. And so he doesn't go like, oh, hey, I'm your best friend. He goes like, oh, I know this kid. He's a good kid. He's the only person I was ever close with, and he tries to be friends with him. He's like, come on tour with us, hang out and stuff. But like, because this kid's the one who kind of calls him out. He's like, bro, you're doing like all this stupid, like you're not cool. It's like, you're not fun to be around. And it's like, you like all the same stuff I like, which is weird. And like, that's cool. But like, I don't like, dude, I'm 13 or whatever. I don't want to do hardcore drugs and like party with like, this is like real shit. Or maybe he does kind of get this kid to like do this stuff, and then he's like, they're having a good time, but maybe the kid like ODs and doesn't necessarily die, but it's like, oh man, like this is where he kind of wakes up and realizes like, oh, I shouldn't be doing these things. And it's like, how do I become a kid again? Because this life isn't what I expected it to be. And I think that could be kind of like a fun movie. And you, I don't know, you call it
Big Star.
You call it Big Time, or like in the
Making it big.
Making it big, yeah. Making it big. That's what I was looking for. Thank you. Making it big. I mean, you're really leaning into the big title.
Yeah.
It's like, I see what you guys are doing here, but fuck them. Making it big. That's the title I was trying to get at.
Yeah.
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 I think there's a movie there.
Pretty standard.
Yeah. It's a classic coming of age tale, but with a rock twist. Mm-hmm. I mean, it doesn't have to be set in the 80s. I just feel like rock and roll in the 80s
hair
is
metal
like,
and everything.
I think there's
visually that's what I
visually more appealing than rock and roll now.
Yeah, because it's like, what is he going to be like, Daughtry or something?
I mean, unless you do go the other way and like, oh, I want to be a big rap star. Sure, rap is the biggest music venue now, and so you do it that way. Mm-hmm. But we're too white to write that movie, I think. Yeah, so we would go rock and roll.
Huh.
But you could go either way.
Yeah. These are fine.
Not in love with them?
No, it's just, and this sounds shitty to say, you really took the lead on both of these.
I apologize.
Most of these, no, that's fine. Most of these are your ideas. Because nothing really jumped out for me.
Well, what's your big take-and pitch?
Well, I like the idea, and maybe I shouldn't have said big, and I guess I'm thinking more Freaky Friday and stuff, which I think we did before. But I just imagine, you have Johnny Taken and his son, and so the son gets taken away, and he's like, oh, I'm going to track you down, but because it's some weird science lab thing or whatever, they switch. So now the kid has to rescue dad in dad's body, and dad is in the kid's body. So he's
the kid is now the trained killer.
Exactly, but it's like, but he's small and he's weak and he can't take out guys. It's like he tries to go for a throat punch and stuff and it doesn't do anything because he's just a little kid. But then you have older Liam Neeson being kind of like shy and awkward with the gun, and you know he goes to like just punch someone, but he actually like breaks the dude's neck because he's much stronger than he ever expected. And how do you deal with that? And you just have this fun comedy of that's just basically a Taken thing, but with a Freaky Friday switch. I know that's not big, but
no, I think the only thing, as you were talking, the only thing I could think of is like there's a part at the beginning of the movie where the wife is just like, honey, you're never home, like when are you gonna have a catch with your son? It's like, oh, I'll have a catch with him later. And at the end of the movie it's like, hey son, catch, and then they like throw a grenade to each other. It's like, thanks dad, we finally had our catch, good catch son. And then he just lobs a grenade to the bad guy's trench or whatever, blow some guys up or something. Like they're having father-son bonding moments while they're killing bad guys.
That would be fun. And having like dad in son's body training son in dad's body, like how to like reload the gun, and just having this little kid talking to an adult on how to like, you know, put the pressure on the carotid artery right here. And I think there could be some fun comedy in that.
I already have a title. Do you have a title that?
No.
I'd say Bonding Time, because it's like Bond.
Oh yeah, like James Bond.
Like James Bond.
Yeah.
And there's bonding time with father and son, and they're kind of bonded to each other's bodies.
Sure.
Not physically, but
sure.
Yeah, that's just the first thing that came to my mind. You bold the BOND. Even though there's probably some legal stuff with that.
Yeah, the Broccoli family's not gonna like
if we can do a different kind of Bond film, we go full ridiculous. But yeah. Or this has nothing to do with Taken, really. It's just another sidetrack of like a dumb title. You have a father and son who go to church, and then through some sort of weird cult thing at this church, they switch bodies, and they realize that these guys are like devil. Like they were supposed to get a demon to possess someone's body, but they stepped in the circle wrong or something, so they like end up just possessing each other.
Okay.
And then it's like, okay, these are they're gonna summon demons to try and like harm people. It's like, we need to take these guys down, and then you call it Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, but the holes are just like bullet holes. I don't know. Or like they switch bodies, but the demon, or not, they didn't quite get a demon, but like they got a ghost, and now the ghost is like kind of the thing that I don't know. I forget. Cut.
I like the title of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Yeah. That's clever.
Yeah, because maybe you call the cult the spirit, and you're trying to shoot the spirits and make them holy with bullet holes. Jesus Christ! Cut. There was a good train of thought there at the beginning. I had it in the first half. I lost it in the second half.
Okay, well, we got two okay movies.
Yeah.
Pretty generic, nothing special. I felt like we were going to come out with some more lightning, since it has been so long since we recorded one of these.
It's just the draw of what movie you want to choose. Sometimes magic happens, sometimes...
Because I bet, like, the Truman Show, A Star is Born, like, that's pretty much what Truman Show is. Like, they see someone and they want to make them a star, and they base a whole show off of it. You would just put a music twist on it. That's pretty simple. But well, okay, those are good enough. Not as good as 9 to 5, but
yeah.
So let's do a director versus director.
Okay.
Do you have anyone in mind?
I do.
Okay. Director versus director. 1, 2, 3.
J.J. Abrams. Super 8.
Death Proof.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
We haven't done Tarantino yet?
No.
Wow.
We did, we used The Wrestler in Django. But we haven't actually used him in this.
How did I not pick Quentin? Okay.
Super 8. Man, I had that movie on my DVR for so long because it was just like, I want to rewatch this.
Yeah.
It's been so long. Nah, deleted it. Needed room.
Yeah. I mean, I really enjoy Super 8. I saw when I was looking at directors, I was like, oh yeah, what has J.J. Abrams directed? And it's only ever been franchise films, except for Super 8.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh yeah, maybe I'll do Cloverfield. I was like, wait, no, Cloverfield's Matt Reeves.
Yeah.
So it's just like, well, I don't want to do like J.J. Abrams' Star Wars or Star Trek or it's like I almost picked Mission Impossible 3 just because I love Mission Impossible 3.
Okay.
But I was like, know what? Let me go his like one original film.
Yeah.
And
J.J. Abrams, Super 8, and Quentin Tarantino's Death Proof. Now
the probably least seen Tarantino movie.
Probably, and it's one of my least favorites of his, just because I think they do the movie completely wrong.
Yes,
and that's my fault. But yeah, my problem with Death Proof is it's two movies in one, and I really
the second movie's better than the first one. But I think you like the first half.
I like the first one because it's like this really interesting build up and this cool character, and then he turns into kind of like a wiener at the end. Once he gets his ass kicked, he's crying about it. But I thought that it was more of like a Christine, where the car is alive and the car is killing people and eating them, using their blood, sucking them into their engine, doing burnouts on their face. I imagine like someone getting run over and they're laying underneath the car and the engine is revving and you can see like their hair and the blood kind of like fly up and then they just sucks them up. So it was like an evil possessed stuntman car that someone is forced to drive and has to satiate it with blood. But then the person who's death proof is actually Zoe Bell. They even mention how she's a stunt woman and she takes a step back and falls down a ravine, but she was able to like kind of tumble and land on her feet and she was perfectly fine. And it's like, oh, that's kind of why she's a stunt woman. She's death proof. It doesn't matter what crazy accident she gets in. She always walks away without a scratch. So then you have this
Bruce Willis in Unbreakable.
Yes. So then you have this unkillable stunt woman being chased down by this car that tries to kill people by running them over. And no matter what, like it would run her over and she would get up and her arm would just like kind of like snap back into place because she is death proof. And so then you have her fighting the car. And I was like, that's a cool movie. And then it was just like, no, he just kills a bunch of women in one car accident. And then he just chases 3 others and doesn't kill anymore. And then he gets his face kicked in. The end.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's been a while since I've seen it. But I just remember watching the first half and like the fact that like I could see that being the whole movie and like how they're gonna stop this guy. He's murdering. Like I like the idea of a serial killer, but he uses a car.
Yeah.
And I also like the fact that he can never die in it, but he gets absolutely wrecked every time he crashes the car.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of fun.
It is fun.
Yeah.
And as soon as he's out of the car, he just gets his shit rocked.
Yeah. But I don't know. I just remember going like once that movie was over and there was no resolution to it. The first half, I mean, it's just like, oh well, then I don't care about any of that. But it's like when he goes after these women and it becomes like kind of like a stalking dude. And it's like, and the girls turn the tables. I think that's fun.
That is
fun.
And
I think that chase sequence is one of the best chase sequences in films. Like that whole last half is really a lot of fun, and I like those women characters. And it's just like, I like that they didn't play the victim, and they were just like, no, what? Let's fuck this dude up. Yeah. And I love that they beat his ass in the end.
See, and you connect him easily because the second group of friends, they just flew into town because they're meeting up with someone for something. Well, you make the girls from the first half, they are already at the destination, the cabin that they rented out because it's a girls' weekend. Maybe it's a high school reunion sort of thing. Like this huge group of women have all been friends for so long and they're meeting up again and they've kind of gone their separate ways. So when the first 4 get slaughtered by this car, the next 4 are like, oh, they were supposed to pick us up from the airport. Well, we have the address. Let's get there. And they go and they can see that.
Because all the girls in the beginning, they were just like strippers and stuff, right?
No, they were just at a
college
bar.
Girls? Or?
They were just people at a bar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so then it's oh my God, what happened? I can see that they're in this place. And so then you have that sort of Michael Myers car chasing them down, killing them one by one. And then you think they kill Zoe Bell. Nope. She's death proof. And ooh, that pisses the car off so much. He wants to eat that lady. And then there you go. So you can take those 2 pre-existing things and you still have your chase. I wouldn't put it in a desert. It was really kind of like dull looking. It was a fun chase, but the scenery wasn't all that interesting. You put it in the woods, maybe it's a little more fun. But what are we doing? We're not pitching a new Death Proof.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, we kind of are. We want the J.J. Abrams Death Proof or the Quentin Tarantino Super 8. Now, right off the bat, Quentin Tarantino's Super 8, that's what I want to see because he hasn't done science fiction.
He's about to.
What's he doing?
Star Trek.
That's not happening.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Because they want to make a Star Trek 4.
I could be wrong, but I think he's directing the one with Chris Pine.
Really? I know he talked about wanting to do it, but he wanted to do like a 70s Star Trek.
I could be wrong. Once again, the age of misinformation.
I would bet money that we never ever see Quentin Tarantino's Star Trek, because he also doesn't really do other people's stuff. He does his own shit.
Right. Which I thought was weird that he, would want to do Star Trek in the first place. But let me see if there's anything on the...
But regardless of Star Trekkiness, we've never seen him do like a big monster. Doesn't even really work with kids ever. So seeing Quentin Tarantino put his little touches on Super 8 would be really, really interesting. Not looking to see Elle Fanning's feet when she's like a 14-year-old kid. But I think maybe he's not going to get that Steven Spielberg E.T. quality, and the kids would probably cuss a lot more, and they would probably be a little more perverted and, looking up girls' skirts or something like that. But I really want to see Quentin Tarantino do sci-fi, do horror, do a monster movie, something that's different than anything he's ever done.
I know we've talked about, he's tackled a lot of genres. It'd be fun to see him take on sci-fi. But I do like the idea of like seeing kids do Tarantino dialogue. I think that could be fun.
Yeah. And especially because they're filming their own little mini movie within the movie. I think that would be a really...
Tarantino kind of put himself as like...
He'd make Eli Roth do that.
Yeah, if I was a little kid and found aliens, what would my experience be like? Because J.J. Abrams did the Super 8 is essentially... Oh, I love the Spielberg films of my youth, like E.T. and stuff. I'm going to make my Spielberg film, which is Super 8.
Yeah.
I think Tarantino doing Super 8 with kids could be fun. Like, they're all, like, cursing and yada, 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 and they're really into, like, obscure music. And especially because Super 8 is set in the 70s or 80s or...
I think it's 70s.
Yeah, 70s. Like, Tarantino knows that time because that's when he grew up. And, he loved making Super 8 films, I believe.
I'm not sure what he did. I know he worked at a Blockbuster. I don't know if he made...
worked at a video store.
But I could see he would do a lot more, like, I think, nods to The Blob, things like that. Plan 9 from Outer Space, and some of the cheaper, older sci-fi movies.
Yeah, and I think he would use his love of film and he would make a lot of references to things of that time. And it's like, okay, in this movie when the aliens landed, we did this. Where I don't remember Super 8 really doing anything with that. It's just like, oh, well now there's aliens, so that's all we're gonna deal with. They don't do like a lot of like, oh well, in this movie this is what they would do, so we're gonna do that. I think Tarantino might do more of that stuff. I don't know, but I think it'd be fun just to see Tarantino's dialogue with the children more than like whatever the sci-fi story is. Like I want to see the sci-fi monster, and I want to see that monster like probably do some really gross, horrible stuff. And these kids trying to deal with this rampaging monster, but
I could see it being more like Attack the Block than E.T.
Sure, yeah. And Attack the Block's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
I haven't seen Attack the Block in a while.
I don't know.
Yeah. That might be a fun rewatch. But, I mean, so obviously it seems like we're picking Tarantino from the jump.
But let's is J.J. Abrams' death proof?
Yeah. Clearly more lens flares.
Yeah. Every time you pass a headlight on a car, or like they're stopped at a red light, everything's just smeared out. Yeah. Just tons of lens flares.
Well, I think you wouldn't do the Tarantino thing of doing two movies. I think he would make it more cohesive.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think where Tarantino definitely looked at all the best chase sequences, or best chase sequences in films and driving sequences. I think while his scene is great, I think JJ would probably make it more of an action film because that's what he does well. So I think you still have the element of this car that kills people and that makes the driver death proof. I think you still do all that, and then you just have, okay, this guy is a serial killer, and maybe you see these girls get murdered, but that's like the opening of the movie, and then these next girls come in and they run into him, and like over time throughout the movie you see them sort of like uncover stuff, and they find newspaper clippings and just like another car accident, and they're connecting the dots. Like there's more of a mystery to it. It's like who is this guy? How did he come across this car? How does this car have this power?
There's definitely more story than
because we don't get anything with Kurt Russell or like his backstory.
He's just a stunt man.
Yeah, I think
likes to kill women.
I think JJ would be more interested in expanding the story and making it cohesive and not leaving plot holes per se, or not necessarily plot holes, but
just
put more work into the villain other than he just wants to kill girls, or like why does he want to kill girls and all.
And
that
I'm
stuff.
sure Quentin Tarantino has like a huge story for him, because he does mention about like how he was a stuntman on this show and none of the girls know what he's talking about. But JJ would really put that on screen, where Quentin Tarantino would just have that to inform Kurt Russell on how to play the character.
Right. Yeah, I think JJ could do a pretty impressive car sequences, and
but I think it'd all be green screen. I don't think he would actually put cars on the road and having people hanging off of it in real time. I think it would all be on a set.
Yeah, I think his would look a lot prettier. It'd be probably more visually appealing, but would it be as would I buy it as much as Tarantino's? Probably not, because I think you're right. There'd be a lot more. There'd be a lot more stuff going on. It would pull from the Michael Bay aspect of it to like, okay, how do we make this more of an action sequence as opposed to just a chase sequence?
Like remember the chase sequence in Hawkeye? That looked kind of like it was a fun chase sequence, but you can tell
where the camera's in the center. Yeah, spinning around. Yeah.
I could see it being a lot like that. And since Death Proof is kind of like a grindhouse film, and it's kind of a throwback, even though it's set in the modern day, it should kind of have a grittier look. But J.J. Abrams definitely would make this slick.
Yeah,
it would be closer to Fast and the Furious than it would be to like French Connection, I think.
Yeah, he would make it clean, and obviously it wouldn't be as gory. I think it'd be like his version of a Girl with a Dragon Tattoo. Not as bleak, obviously, not as dark shaded, but it's like there is a mystery to it, and then it just leads to a big chase sequence at the end. But really, it's a murder mystery of a film. Even though J.J. Abrams isn't known for mystery films or anything, I think.
But he's known for mystery boxes.
Right.
He's very good about going, hey, what's this thing? You'll never know.
Yeah. And then, Lost was essentially just constantly like cliffhanger after cliffhanger after cliffhanger. So it's like, maybe he even goes the route like, oh, this car is actually made from alien technology, and that's why it can keep the driver safe, but we haven't mastered it, so it's just like you can still get injured. Like, you could do some sort of batshit insane thing if he really wanted to go to the sci-fi route, or you could just make it that he's just a serial killer, and it's believed that it's the guy's death proof, but really he's just like a dude who just happens to always survive. I don't know. The Tarantino one would be more interesting, but I think the Death Proof one could be fun.
Yeah, I can definitely see J.J. Abrams taking his own take on it. And because it's one of my least favorite Quentin Tarantino's, I don't want to say J.J. Abrams would make a better movie. He would actually just make a real movie.
Yeah.
Not this exploitation grindhouse two halves of a movie.
I think a lot of people would see J.J. Abrams' film, because not a lot of people saw Death Proof.
No.
But also, in Death Proof's defense, it was a 3-hour movie that was two
It was
separate
a double feature.
It was a double feature of like stuff that looks like it's from the 70s.
Yeah.
So there was a lot going against it anyway. I think people would line up to see a J.J. Abrams mystery killer car movie.
Yeah.
And people might not line up. I mean, people would line up for Tarantino regardless.
They do, no matter what.
With the exception of Death Proof.
Yeah. That's kind of a given with him. But yeah, if you said J.J. Abrams' next movie was a killer car action mystery thriller or whatever, you'd be like, oh, that's very different for him. I want to see how he takes that.
I don't ever want to see Abrams take on another franchise. He's done too much already.
Yeah, start doing some original shit.
Yeah.
Like a Fast and the Furious. We really need Abrams on a Fast and the Furious.
I'd say like that. It might be fun.
Yeah.
I don't know if it could get worse.
It definitely had better dialogue if you got to write it. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Quentin Tarantino's Super 8. It just makes more sense to me.
Yeah, I think he could pull a lot of from a lot of his old film knowledge and make an interesting monster we haven't seen before.
Yeah.
Because a lot of problems with monsters nowadays is they're all kind of very similar.
Yeah, I was real underwhelmed when that monster was revealed. It's just like, oh, it's kind of like the Cloverfield monster.
Yeah, it's like we need to come up with a monster that's kind of thin but big and has like these long extendo arms because it looks abnormal and almost like spider-like, which is creepy, even though it offers like no real purpose. It just looks interesting.
Oh, let's put the joints backwards and have a couple of extra limbs.
Yeah.
And there you go. It's an
and
alien.
a snarly mouth.
Yeah.
It's either that or we just need a big, fat, furry thing or something like that.
Yeah.
They either look like stuff we have on Earth, just altered, or it's just a mantis-looking human monster, you know?
Yep. Well, that was good. I liked our director versus director better than our This Means That. I think that was a good mashup. Because a lot of times I think it's kind of either very obvious who we should pick or they both kind of suck.
Yeah.
This is, I'd see both of them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that was fun. Well, let's take it home. Steve, where can they find us?
If you want to email us, you can find us at WRPLpodcast@gmail.com or hit us up on Twitter at WRPLpodcast or find us on Instagram at WRPL Podcast.
It's pretty tough.
Yeah.
To find us. I wouldn't say Google it because I'm pretty sure we're not hitting in any sort of Google thing. But yeah, if you search it on those platforms, you'll find us.
Get in the whirlpool with us.
Yeah.
Talk movies, talk TV, talk what you've been listening to. Maybe you have a good CD recommendation. Do people even listen to CDs anymore? I guess album you want us to YouTube that we can listen to.
You got a good mashup, whether it's directors or movies. Give us your weirdest takes. It's Miracle on 34th Street meets Halloween. How do those work? Give us something so crazy that there's no possible way you can make a movie, and we'll give it a try.
Santa Claus is coming to town to kill you.
Yeah. All right. So as always, I'm Ben.
And I'm Steve.
Good night, everyone. Ooh, that pisses the car off so much. He wants to eat that lady.